Right. So, as part of our API learning today about Bruno, we are going to discuss because when we are working on the API integration part, irrespective of the technology and as well as the domain that we are working on, there are different APIs that we are using, like we are using Postman and all that. At the same time, one of the prominent open source API we are using now is called Bruno. So, advantage under Bruno API application, which is a Git friendly open source application across industries that we are using in the organizations majorly. So when we are working on the Bruno API, one of the major uh, advantages that we see, I'm referring to Bruno API here. There were many other, but we are focusing on the Bruno that we are about to work on it. So which has a data privacy and as well as security, because whatever the legacy API clients that we are moving towards capturing any kind of data and all. So we need to have a data privacy as important. So data privacy and security can be given. So this is what generally API for Bruno that we can work with, right? So if you want to create any collections or something, or if you want to create any new collections or import collections, everything that we can do. At the same time, we can create even any API specifications or something that we can use it. So data privacy is one of the important thing. Data privacy, data security, everything can be provided under UPI, this API, Bruno API. Next, along with this, when we are working on this API, there are different methods that we can use, as in when widely used across industries in is called RESTful API we are using. So we can use different methods like we can use get method, we can use post method, put method, delete method. So these are the different methods that can be used to perform any activity. Means if you want to create any kind of stateless RESTful APIs, or if you want to manage any kind of servers. So between the client and request, if you want to get any kind of data, if you want to retrieve any kind of user list. So there are different methods we can create. So different HTTP methods, whatever is required that can be created, especially using this Bruno API, is something that we can do. So in this regard, so how generally collections can be opened, right? So we can use creation of collections where if you want to create any kind of collections or something, we can create our own collections. So that is one thing which we have an advantage and we can do as well. Next about that, if you want to open any new collections from the existing resource that we have from our internal systems, etc., we can use it even. Next, if you want to import any collections can be used using this Bruno API and any kind of GitHub connectivity, because whatever the code that we are managing, everything can be stored under the GitHub repository. If you want to access any kind of information from GitHub, etc., so this GitHub repository we can connect with. We can connect with Bruno and we can use it accordingly. What are the required collections you want to maintain, right? So what are the different preferences that you are going to provide? Everything that we can do. So in this regard, so when we are working on this, it's important for us to create a collection of different APIs that we can manage. Either it can be RESTful API or something, right? So creation of collections is something that is important when we are working on this particular API. So we have to take some example in regard to how this creation of collections can be uh, done in APIs and all. So we need to know about how to create collections and also and what kind of examples that we can take. So as an example, for example, creation of collection of creating collections for let's say that creation of collections for any kind of customer. Okay, for example, okay, customer creation. So customers, right? So this is what generally the creation of customers that we have selected. This is maybe, for example, if you want to post any information, okay, creation of collections that we have taken. Now, if you want to select any kind of browser, if you want to locate any location, we need to locate the location, including the customer folder name we have created, whatever the folder name is required, so that we have created. So for whatever the API collection, for example, sample API collection we have taken. Okay, this is an environment we have taken. If there is any new environment that we have submitted, or if there is any kind of new environment that we have mentioned, everything that we can take. from any sample collections API that we can take it. Whatever is required, everything that can be taken. Location is required. So you need to browse the location wherein that is again depending on the configurations that we want to be done, right? So how this can be configured, right? So how this location API has to be accessed so that we can create a collection and we can perform accordingly. So for that, it's always important wherein we need to identify what API collections we have and how this can be opened, right? So from there we can, let's say that sample APIs we have. Assume that we have sample APIs. As of now, I have not stated anything. But whatever the APIs that we have taken, everything that we can do it, take it. And if you want to test any APIs, etc., everything that we can do it. So this is advantage where you see, especially when we are working on the Bruno API, whatever the HTTP methods, everything that we can do it. Next, what are the different parameters we have? Okay, because we have two different parameters. One about the query parameters and as well as path parameters we have. Query parameters majorly to pass any additional information to any kind of server through any kind of URL we are making any kind of HTTP request. This is all something will be part of query parameters. That is point number one. So how to do the query parameters and all that will be discussed in the coming sessions because this is an overall understanding over the Bruno API I'm giving. Next about the path parameters. Path parameters majorly provides any kind of dynamic value which we want to embed it directly to any kind of URL path. Right. So for that, generally there are examples we have, but still we'll create our own examples so that will be understood well in advance. So these are the two different parameters we have. One is about the query part. First one, query parameters we have. At the same time, we must be knowing about the path parameters also. So these are the two major parameters we must be knowing when we are talking about RESTful API parameters, all that. Next, even if you want to create any kind of head request or request headers, etc., everything can be created. Or any kind of changes, whatever is required to have any kind of changes, here we can do. Whatever the post method you are creating, right? So whatever the put method you are creating, everything that we can do. So for that, whatever the sample API collections do we have, etc., we can do it. Means let's say that we can create a new request here. We can create a new folder also. For example, get users. Okay, let's say for example, if you are taking the safe mode, we are taking, right? So let's say that safe sandbox mode is updated. We have updated the sandbox mode. So wherein if you want to clone anything, you clone it. Or if you want to generate any kind of code, or if you want to create any kind of new example for the existing one, creating a new example of retrieving the customer information data. Okay. Okay, retrieving the customer information data is what we are doing. Okay, retrieving the customer information is something that we have taken as an example name we need to take. Okay, customer. Okay, customer records is an example I am taking. And I have created a get method because where we have to, if you want to update any information or if you want to access any kind of data to the existing environment, we can use get method so that we can get all the information what is required from the customer. Everything can be taken and everything can be processed accordingly. So for that, get users means if you want to create any kind of users, etc. So if you want to get any information from any external sources, wherein if you want to detail anything, etc. So everything that can be accessed from there and we can use it. That is one thing that can be done. And at the same time, if you want to generate any new code to the existing one, even if you want to generate any new code also we can generate. Or if you want to clone any application, etc., we can use it. So generation of code is required. So this is what generally generation of code we have taken. So whatever the code is required, let's say that we have taken a JavaScript code because assume that we are using JavaScript. So this is what the code that we can do, and we can interpolate the variabilities and whatever the required code that we have taken, we can generate the code according to our requirement, according to the project that we are working on. But majorly now and then we are using JavaScript, as in when everybody knows that. At the same time, Node.js also we are using. For Kotlin, some projects we are using Kotlin. Okay. So Kotlin also we are using even Kotlin also there are possibilities where we are using Kotlin as well. Kotlin also we are using. So these are the major ones. And Python majorly for data projects we are using. Okay. So generation of code, everything that we can do it. So this is how this Bruno API we are using, means to create any sample collections, or if you want to create any kind of different methods like get method, put method, post method and all. This is what and how generally we can create whatever the sample creations are needed. So everything can be created. At the same time, if you want to create any JS files or something, we can do. And if you want to make any settings, etc., we can go to settings and all. We can make necessary settings as per our requirement. Either we want to make any kind of changes on the header, we want to make any kind of changes on the testing part, because API testing we have to do. So for that also we can make. This is all about the high level understanding over the Bruno API part, API application is concerned, and how we are going to create different methods in this RESTful API, and how can we generate the scripts, how can we do this testing part. That can be discussed in the coming sessions slowly, one by one.